Welcome back. We're here for another Who Dat that is going to be over Latrell McCutchin, which was suggested by one of you guys, and it was by a guy named YGC. So he wanted to know a little bit more about Latrell McCutchin, which he was going to be on our list, and anyway, but we decided to bump it up. So in the future, if you guys have anyone that you'd like to hear more about from the 2021 class, we'd be more than happy to do it. Obviously, we've already covered a handful, like 7, 8 recruit or kids that are committed or actually signed now at this point, 8 to the Sooners. And so if you haven't seen all those, make sure to go check those out. If you hadn't already, make sure to like and subscribe and turn on your notifications. We really enjoy also if you comment with your input on your opinions on that player or whatever topic we're talking about, and we enjoy the feedback. So without further ado, we'll get going on Latrell. He's a 6'1" corner, 176 pounds from LBJ Austin in Austin, Texas. According to 247, he was the number 240 overall recruit, number 17 corner in the 2021 class. But what we found interesting was that he was rated as a number 78 overall player and the number 4 corner in the 2021 class, according to Rivals. So there's a little discrepancy there that we kind of thought was interesting. He was 2020 preseason first team All-American, USA Today. And then obviously, if you guys hadn't heard, his junior season, he tore his ACL first game, and then he played his senior season. So during his senior season, he was able to rack up 40 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 3 picks, 1 forced fumble, and 2 fumble recoveries. And then on the offensive side, he was able to have 24 catches, 374 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So we'll get going in and get their opinion, Jose and Brandon's opinions on him. There's definitely a lot more on him, but we'll get going. So Brandon, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, sure. I think he fits the mold of the Alex Grinch corner. When you look at his frame at 6'1", size, that's very similar to Robert Jennings, who we just got, and also Xavier Bryce, I think, is right in that ballpark. Another thing that is similar is Robert Spears Jennings also lined up a little bit at receiver at Broken Arrow High School. And as you just mentioned, Latrell did the same thing. So I think, stars aside, I think Alex Grinch looks for these kind of guys. I think this is what he thinks fits best in his system. And as far as the star thing goes, again, I think he was on that fast track to a 5-star rating, had that unfortunate knee injury kind of set him back. But I think it's a really good commit for Oklahoma. Hose, what do you got?
Yeah, very similar to what he said. Obviously, Grinch has a type, is a way to put it. He wants big and fast. Watching his highlight tape, he kept up with the receivers he was covering step for step. He didn't really let anyone blow by him. So it's probably safe to assume he's probably going to play on the outside as a corner in college. So seeing him in the future paired up with Billy Bowman next year, I don't know how much we'll probably see of him as a freshman. We've got a pretty good DB room right now with Woody Washington, DJ Graham, all the safeties. We've got some pretty good talent there. So we'll just see. And someone on the comment section a couple videos ago mentioned Grinch's big thing is just rotating, keeping guys fresh. So he might come in a few times in the early part of the season and during non-conference play. So we'll just have to kind of see how that goes. If he does get to play during those games, it all kind of depends on if the coaches like what they see during non-conference play is kind of going to determine who's going to be those rotational guys once we do get into the meat and potatoes of the season to get into championship play.
You've got to like his odds at least to play in the Western Carolina game or some of those cupcake games at the beginning. And just one more thing I wanted to say is the old saying that's why they play defense, when a corner drops a pick or something like that. In theory, our guys should not be doing that, as they're ex receivers. Some of them are, most of them are. It's the Grinch type.
Yeah, no, definitely. And something that I'll add on to it is something that I watched him, like how you said, Jose, that he's a good bump and run. He can play out on an island. He's physical, and he's just a great cover corner out on an island because that's what Grinch likes to run. But something that I found also interesting, and if anyone's watched his recruitment going through, he was once committed to Alabama. He's committed summer of 2019 to the Crimson Tide, and then OU and Alabama offered him the same day, and then he pulled the trigger and became a Crimson Tide later after that, in fall of 2018. And then he then went on for a while, for I don't know, 6-8 months, committed to Alabama, went to OU, and visited in March of 2020, right before COVID actually shut everything down. And on that day of his unofficial visit, he decommitted from Alabama. And so whatever Grinch and Lincoln and all those guys were selling him, he bought. And so from then, and then he committed on July 4th, along with Caleb Williams on the same day. So second 4th of July that has been good for the Sooners this year and the previous year in 2020. Maybe a reoccurring trend for the future, which is pretty cool. And, we did talk about it in a video where we talked about that Oklahoma was stealing talent from Alabama and Ohio State. Well, here's a prime example. They were actually able to flip a kid from Alabama to the Sooners. And I know it's a sore subject, and we only think about the ones that the Sooners lost to the Crimson Tide or Ohio State, but they're getting to the point where they're going to start flipping kids. And I think this is going to happen again, and maybe be more of a trend, and rather than the Sooners always losing them. And then, yeah. And what were you
I was going to say, and kind of just quickly off topic, Ruben Owens might be a guy that we're going to talk about in a couple of years, flipping from the Tide to a Sooner, hopefully. But that's kind of just off subject.
Is he looking like Alabama right now? I haven't kept up with his recruitment as much as I should.
I was just temporarily, but he was committed to them for a while. But all I wanted to say was, we're, like you mentioned, we're going to start competing for guys that 2 or 3 years ago we're going to stick to their initial commitment, and maybe they're going to start coming and actually taking a serious look at us like Latrell did. And obviously I think COVID might have actually helped us there a little bit, because if COVID wouldn't have happened, Nick Saban would have brought him in immediately to try to make sure that he was more comfortable in Tuscaloosa, and would have just kind of forgotten about Norman if COVID at that point kind of helped us, because no more kids weren't allowed to go to campuses anymore.
Yeah. So, and you were saying about Ruben Owens, I want to go back to that. He was committed to Texas, right? And it wasn't Alabama. Yeah, he was committed to Texas.
But then I right before Champ U, the barbecue.
Yeah.
Like the day before or something.
Yeah. And then I do think, though, that he likes the SEC, or he's like LSU and Alabama. But enough about him. That'll be something we'll be covering over the next year or two as we go into that. But back to McCutchin, you guys were talking about how much he'd play this year. We all went. No, Jose, you didn't go to the spring game, but I know Brandon went to the spring game. But McCutchin actually played quite a bit for the Sooners. I mean, actually, this is the third Who Dat on the defensive back room of Billy. We did one on Billy Bowman and Jordan Mukes and Latrell McCutchin. Now, those three guys all excelled at the spring game. So I almost would argue that he might, as a freshman, along with Billy Bowman, could potentially play the most out of him. He really could play the most between him and Billy Bowman in the defensive back room as far as freshmen go. He might be a 25-30% kind of snap guy, just because of how much early playing time he was getting in the spring game. Like we've always been saying, though, spring games are a little you take it with a grain of salt. I don't know how much to believe and how much not to believe. But he excelled.
Yeah, he's got great size and obviously great ball skills. Anybody who played receiver, I mean, he's gonna have great ball skills. He's gonna have the ability to go up there and snatch it, get it. It's exciting times for him.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's a big time land, and the whole Texas deal. If anyone watched his recruitment, obviously he's from Austin, Texas, and he had unofficially visited the Longhorns, attended summer camps with the Longhorns in 2018. Then an offer didn't really ever come. Sooners and Crimson Tide scooped in with some offers, and I think the Longhorns burned a bridge. Granted, that's the Tom Herman disaster train wreck that was in charge, and he just burned a bridge. And I remember reading through his recruitment, he came out with many quotes and interviews of like, I can't stand Texas. I don't have any interest in playing for him. And it's just interesting in their backyard. I mean, you guys have anything
You
to
remember
comment on that one?
The last OU player that was from Texas, or from Austin, had a chip on his shoulder, and how much he hated Texas.
Yeah, I know.
That guy cleaned up pretty well, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think now that would happen with Sarkisian at the helm. It just goes to show how much of a train wreck Tom Herman is, and I guess we're also assuming that Latrell McCutchin will excel in college, which I think he will.
Yeah, he's got a shot at least. And I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I think for a lot of these freshman guys, including Latrell, it's going to all depend. Their playing time and for most of the season is going to depend on how do you perform versus Nebraska versus what is it, Western Carolina,
and Tulane.
And Tulane. Like if you can put in some good playing time in the third, fourth quarter when we're hopefully we're blowing out these teams, and this is when you earn your time later on.
The thing that hurts is I agree with what Brum said earlier about it's going to be between him and Bowman as far as freshman playing time goes. But isn't there like the 5-game rule as far as keeping a player's red shirt? So like if Oklahoma wants to keep this kid's red shirt, that could hurt his playing time this season. But
yeah, it could.
It happened to it happened to Spencer. I think it happened to a pretty prominent player when they first got on campus.
Spencer came in and played against South Dakota State. That's really the only game I can vividly remember because he looked really good in that game. He threw a touchdown pass to, I think it may have been Sean Bridges or Hazelwood.
Yeah.
But he came in and looked sharp. Obviously, it was South Dakota State, and it was like 70-0 when he was in the game. But
yeah, I actually do want to say it was Spencer that came in and played cleanup because his fourth game, he came in for LSU, the LSU game.
Yeah.
And that was just enough to keep his commitment,
his red shirt.
or not his commitment, his red shirt clean. I mean, it could very well be that only whoever's the best one, gets to break his red shirt, and then the other one will be held. I don't know. It might injuries play.
Yeah, and it might also depend on where on the field you're lining up, because I mean, Woody Washington has been getting a lot of hype around him this summer, and he's on the outside. So if the guys that's opposite to Woody Washington can keep doing his job well, then Latrell might not get to see the field as much as Billy Bowman might, because Billy's more of a nickel guy.
They're going to have to beat out Jaden Davis if they want to earn playing time this year. I think Jaden Davis is the other guy as far as Bowman, Woody Washington, and then there's him, the guys that will probably see the most playing time.
Yeah.
That defensive back.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. So I'm going to do like an over-under on playing time for McCutchin for this season. Yeah, I mean, DJ Graham, and then you have Kendall Dennis also, who, is way down as far as a 3-star, but he's looked pretty good. So as far as playing time over-under, I'm going to set it at, we're going to do 18% playing time of total snaps. What do you think? Over-under, Jose?
I'm going just like barely over. Like it might be like 19-20%, just because of just because I hope that he does well enough in those first 3 games that Grinch and Roy Manning just say, whenever we're playing a spread offense, or whenever we just, someone's having a down day, we can throw in Latrell, because we can rely on him just to turn it around for us against whatever receiver. But again, it's hard to say, but I do want to. My guess will be over, just because I think this kid is talented enough to skip some spots, and take a spot away from a different guy.
Yeah, Brandon, what do you think?
I'll go over 2. Kind of citing your point earlier, Brum, about how Grinch likes to rotate those corners. Keep them fresh, keep them going. He's definitely a guy that he should get a lot of time in rotation. Great size, great ball speed, great speed. He should see over 18%.
Yeah, I'm thinking it'll be over. It'll be in that low 20s. Bowman might be more 25-30%. But you know, you never know. Injuries play a big factor, and weird things happen, and he could be just excelling. And there's been plenty of true freshmen that come on and just start and just are a star. You just never know. But he seems to have the motivation, the chip on his shoulder, and he's a physical corner. Just another athlete that Grinch likes. So I don't have anything else to add other than it's exciting to see, you know, if he doesn't play, there was a point in time on this roster that he would have been the best corner, you know?
Yeah.
So
not too long ago.
I was about to say
yeah,
that.
yeah. So
Going back to 20, what is it, 16, when Buki came to Norman, he got to play immediately, and look how he turned out. And no offense to him, but he wasn't really 5-star material once he got to college. So Latrell definitely would have been the guy opposite of him to start.
Yeah. Stars at this point, when you sign and are on campus, do not matter anymore. So other than hype and getting us excited and everyone that watches is excited, that's about it at this point when you sign on that dotted line. So I don't have anything else. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we wrap this one up? Anything?
That's it for me.
Okay.
Follow socials.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys would like a specific player for us to cover, break down, provide some information on, leave a comment below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think, and maybe you guys think you might start a lot more or play a lot more this season, or maybe less. Let us know what you think. We'll be sure to get back to you, and we appreciate the support, and keep spreading the word, and we'll keep the content coming your way. Thanks, guys.